Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the One Fear Per Year podcast, where we really encourage one another to walk through fear, to take messy action, to be the best versions of ourselves. And I have the best guest to help us dive into fear, to walking through fear, because she is just amazing. Genesis Pirolo, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me here. I appreciate it a lot. This is so special, especially because we've known each other for like quite some time now. And actually, that's thanks to Kevin Bracey. Shout out to him.
Shout out, Kevin. Well, yes, we met each other as we were both navigating the speaking realm. So let's talk about that actually, to dive into speaking, because public speaking, as we know, is one of the biggest fears that people tend to deal with. Was public speaking ever a fear of yours? Or how did you feel about that?
I mean, I've always had a fear before going up on stage and still to this day, right? And speaking in front of an audience. But it was more of a passion that surpassed that fear and overcame that fear to where, hey, end of the day, I'm still shaking in my little heels and my little booties before I go on stage and hold that mic. But my passion's so big that it completely erases that fear once I just inhale in, inhale out and just take that moment. So I embrace fear as a human. And if anything, I've learned to leverage it because I've been there before where it has made me feel stagnant, has made me freeze, and that has not helped me before.
Oh, so this reframe of leveraging fear, of using fear as a driver, as fuel, of the passion being greater than the fear. How did that passion develop in your life?
Yeah, for me, it's more of like a spiritual passion and purpose. So when I was 18 years old in high school, I really felt called on my heart by God to pursue speaking to help students, essentially just to share my story with them so they feel less hopeless, less alone, and know that there is a way out, there is a light, and that there is a future for them. And they do belong here on this beautiful planet we call Earth, and that they too have a purpose and they need to let that light shine. So at 18 years old, when I graduated high school at Casa Roble, I gave a speech. That was the first speech I ever did before in front of approximately 4,000 people with the friends and family of those of my peers graduate. I was the most nervous I've ever been in my life. I tell you, I'm not exaggerating before getting on that stage because high school's scary enough. Then you have to go in front of all your peers and their family and friends, make sure you don't humiliate yourself. So that's the image they have of you for the trajectory on forward. So it really came down to just using those breathing techniques, using affirmations, and just standing strong in my authenticity, saying I'm giving it my all. And I have to know that that's what I did and be fulfilled with that. And so that's what I did when I got on that stage and held that mic. I breathed in and outwards so I can come to more peace with myself and be more grounded, and then I just gave it my all, and that passion that fueled me in my belly, that fiery feeling made every inch of nervousness just wash away, anxiety, doubt, imposter syndrome. And I knew that I was called to do that for the rest of my
Oh, that is beautiful. And I know
life.
that you work with students currently. What would you say is one of the biggest fears that students have?
What I tend to hear a lot, especially like after speeches and them just coming up to me, which I really appreciate and being vulnerable, is an insecurity, is not feeling like it's good enough, like they're good enough. A lot of imposter syndrome, getting in their own head and letting fear be their own worst enemy. And so I have to just encourage them, like I have to encourage myself every single day when I wake up. Genesis, you have a choice. Fear could be your enemy or your friend. And you have the power, that amazing ability to make that choice that can dictate the trajectory of your life. And so that's what I tell them. Look, it's a choice every single day that we have to make because we cannot let fear make us stagnant and keep us from fulfilling our precious purpose. We can't. We cannot let it do that to us. We can't let it destroy us.
Mm. Is there a story in your own life that you have of a fear that you had, something that you were just completely resisting, but you knew that you needed to walk through that fear? And can you tell us about that story and what happened, that what that process was like?
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, there's many of those experiences that I cherish, but one that stands out that I say when I go speak to high school and college students is at the professional start of my career when I was getting a lot of marketing internships. When I was 21 years old, one specific marketing internship I had at Bold Speaker Series. That's a platform for bold women to share their stories. We had invited two-time Olympic gold medalist, Hall of Famer Ruthie Bolton. When she walked into that room, whew, she had a presence. I mean, you just know it's a person that you want to be friends with or you want to be in their network with. You want to be connected to that person because they have this aura and this presence of strength, of optimism, and it's just contagious. You want to be by that person. So immediately everyone just got so nervous in the room with her, and people, you could just feel the tension building up of not knowing whether they should say hi to her, whether they should like go in for a hug or a handshake. I mean, you could just feel the tension of like the celebrity walking in a room, this big presence. And it caught on to me. I was like so nervous. I was like, am I good enough to talk to this person? I mean, look at all she's achieved. Not only is she a two-time Olympian, she's an author, she's a speaker, right? Just her success is nothing compared to where I was at 21, right? And it just gave me this imposter syndrome type of fear of why would I introduce myself to her? Like, what if it's a joke? Like, I'm too young, right, to talk to someone of that type of level, right, of success. But anyhow, I just had to face that fear. So I waited for her to finish her speech. I introduced myself immediately, said, look, what you do inspires me. I need 5 minutes of your time, no more than 5 minutes, I promise. Next thing you know, we met up for coffee. We're having a very candid, authentic conversation. And somehow that led to me gaining her as my first marketing client, her trusting me to rebuild her brand and social presence online, her mentoring me, her becoming a lifelong friend of mine. I mean, just from the introduction, even when I was so scared of making a fool out of myself, of not feeling good enough, but look what happened in the end, the best possible solution. And that's why I encourage students, make the introduction. Do not wait because you do not know what door of opportunity awaits behind that person when you introduce yourself to them.
And it's such a brave ask. And then being willing to sit with whatever the answer is, because obviously there's that fear of rejection. What if she said,
Mhm.
"No, I can't meet you for coffee," or "I can't."
Yeah.
But having that trust in yourself and in something deeper where you just go, "Okay, I am going to take the next best step," which is to ask her to have this conversation, and then everything that flourished from that, that is such an amazing story and a great example of the most beautiful, amazing things that are right on the other side of that
Yep.
ask, right? So,
Exactly.
that is really, really cool. Just and I would imagine too, going into it without an expectation, but just very open to, I know what my next best step is to ask her to have this conversation and not necessarily expecting all of the greatness that did
Mhm.
come from it. But how did you navigate that internally? What were your thoughts and how did you process making that big ask?
For me, it came down to just assurance, right? And I call it godly confidence. It's not confidence that I have, but it's godly confidence that comes from God Himself. and just being strong in my authenticity and processing it in the way as, hey, if it goes in the direction I want it to go, that's great. That's a bonus. But I'm going to go in there, like you had worded it, with expectations that are not even like high, right? Just going in there with the bare minimum of, look, I'm having a conversation. We'll see where it goes. Because in that moment, all I knew I had to do in that process was trust myself and to give value. Every time I've introduced myself to someone, I make it my intention to give value to them first without expecting anything in return. Because we all know, the law of attraction. If you haven't read the book, The Giver, I mean, there's so much power in just giving and just being a kind, decent human being, right? And just being empathetic and loving. So, just the power of that took me so far, and just walking in saying, hey, I'm just gonna be very candid with her social media presence on what I think she could even do to elevate it. Simple steps on the branding, on the colors she's using, on the type of content she's producing, just giving her free value and tips. Not expecting for her to say, hey, I need you to take that over for me completely, but just saying, here, I'm here to help you out as a human to a human, as an act of kindness.
So that service, the heart of, I want to serve, I want to give, I want to be generous. And the things that come from that are mind blowing. They can be very
Yes.
just staggering.
Exactly, for sure.
And I know you mentioned breathing, affirmations, reframing fear as how you think about it. For someone, if they're really stuck in fear and they feel very paralyzed, are there any other helpful tips that you could give, besides those are great things? Is there anything else that you use or can think of to really encourage people to live their best lives, to break free from that prison, and do the things that are really on their hearts to do?
I definitely feel the people you surround yourself with is key. So we all know, the saying, you are the sum or average of the five people you spend the most time with. So spend time with fearless people. Spend time that fear less than you, that are less anxious than you, that are more bold and daring and courageous. Because when you're surrounded by that energy, you start to become that energy. You start to live that lifestyle. You start to become that person you desire to be in the future, a less fearing person of life, less anxious of everything, overthinking what people think of you. All these things start to numb down, and really the volume dies down when you're by people that are just fearless and love life and risk it and do it all. So I advise you to do that. Be by those people, right? And that's always helped me tremendously. And just my faith with God is just having Him as, my steadfast type of, rock I rely on every single day. Just my faith in knowing God is there. I walk through the valley of shadow and death, but I fear no evil, for thou art with me. It doesn't matter where I am, God has my back, right? So having that faith tremendously personally has impacted my life in ways where I would never be where I am today. And just being grateful for this season of life, this beautiful season of life, and just doing it even when you're scared. I can't recall how many times I've done it when I was just scared to death, scared of what people would think of me, scared of making a fool of myself. Most importantly, something I battled from an early age when I got into the professional world at 18 was fearing I was too young to be in that room, too young to be in the presence of people that ran Fortune 500 companies, people that had so much success beyond my years. But I still walked into the room. I still made an introduction. Even when I was scared to death, I just made sure to breathe through it, to smile through it, and to remind myself that I am human and I have to give myself grace.
And don't you think as you do that continuously, then
Mhm.
you build that confidence within you where the next room you walk into might be a little bit less of the super terrifying feeling, and just that confidence starts to build and build.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, funny story, and it might be a little embarrassing, but hey, I'm very open about my life. The first networking opportunity I ever went to, I actually brought my mother. And I was like, "Mom, I need you to go with me because, I've heard that these networking events are great for your growth, for professionalism, but I honestly was too scared to go by myself." So I brought my mama with me and she was amazing. She was a trooper and, I networked, she networked, we would introduce each other to people. And so we made a really good team. And then after that, I was like, "Hey, I got it from here. I got to do this on my own." Right. And then little by little, I would show up by myself in a room of 400 plus people, put on a smile, give myself those internal affirmations, breathe before I went and introduced myself, and I just made it happen, right? Introduction after introduction, mentorship opportunities. I mean, I can't explain what that did for me at such a young age, even when I was scared to death, even when I was struggling with self confidence at the time, and I did not feel good enough to talk to those people.
I don't think that's an embarrassing story at all. I think that shout out to all the mamas out there, and it sounds like you have an amazing one, so that is really good. And yes, let's lean on each other
Yes.
as we gain that confidence and the strength, and we need each other. It's the community, having a coach, a mentor, a good mama, like all of that is super important. So I love that you brought that up. Now, because this is called the One Fear Per Year podcast, I love to think of one kind of bigger thing to do each year. Is there something like that where you have in your mind for the future this fear that you wanna walk through? Or if not, something that you've recently done as a fear that you've walked through?
I would say genuinely, like, if I have to think of it, first thing comes to mind as, like, biggest fear I've had since I was little till this day. Keep in mind I'm 24, so it's gonna sound very silly, is leaving a legacy. So, people question, "Why are you so scared? You have so much time left. You're so young." And I say, "Yes, I do have time." But that doesn't mean that I shouldn't, be so focused on my future of what footprint I could leave here on earth. What do I want people to remember me by? And I do take it to heart because unfortunately, when I was 5 years old, it's part of my testimony. My father did pass away from cancer. And so seeing someone so healthy and vibrant and full of energy that I love just in a snap of an instant be taken away by a terrible disease did put that fear in me of, well, do I have enough time? Or, will there be a tomorrow? And that's something I still have to work through today, actually, is just reassuring myself in that trust in what God has for my future, that I am going to leave that footprint. It is going to happen. It's a matter of time. I just have to be patient. Because especially as type A's, we want to get it all done, right? We want to move, move, move. We don't want to take a breath to wait. We don't want to take breaks because it may make us feel lazy. That's how I personally felt. Is, oh, if I watch a show on the TV for too long, I'm lazy. I'm not doing enough, right? So for me, it's been a process of trusting more in God and myself that there will be a legacy left that is supposed to be left, and that purpose will be fulfilled at the end of the day.
Beautiful. Last question. You are so amazing. I'm inspired and
Um,
just love you. I think you're
Thank you.
delightful, and you've, left a legacy already. So even if
Oh, thank
whatever,
you.
like, you really have. You're
Thank
amazing.
you.
So last question, if you know right or wrong answer, but in your own mind, what do you think is the exact opposite word of fear?
Bold.
Mm.
First thing I thought of. That's a word I've been holding dear to my heart ever since I even was involved with our Bold Speaker series when I was in college because just getting the meaning from different individuals of what boldness means to them, they never put fear in that sentence once. They never put anxiety. They never put imposter syndrome. So I hold dear to that word of boldness, of being bold. Because to me, I just see the superhero. I see someone invincible that can just go through life without, thinking about that step, overthinking. They just do it. You just stand in the power of your authenticity and take the risk, regardless of the outcome. And I just think that's so awesome and beautiful.
What an amazing way to end this episode. Everybody go out, be bold, be brave, be fabulous, and
Yes.
live your very best life. And Genesis, thank you for being such an example to everybody and to the students that you serve of somebody that really is so self-aware and living her best, most bright, beautiful life.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Janice, from the bottom of my heart and everything that you do. I mean, you're inspiring my generation and the next generation. So I applaud you for just being authentic and who you are. Since day one, since when I met you through Kevin Bracey, I was just like, you radiate this light of positivity and authenticity, and you stand strong in your vulnerability. And let me tell you, that's a rare gem today. So I appreciate you just being
Mwah.
you.
Everybody, take on fear. Let's do this messy thing called life together. Thank you, Genesis.